your BIM Civil LDD consultant, Dan, has prepared the following presentation. For our next topic, we will discuss the use of language in land development and civil engineering. BIM Civil presentations will be delivered using the language of English. More specifically, BIM Civil presentations will be delivered using the language of BIM Civil English. The concept of BIM Civil English may be explained as follows. Your BIM Civil consultant shall attempt to educate, motivate, entertain, and to inspire a target audience, the target audience being those who are considering or engaged in the business of land development engineering. Additionally, your BIM Civil consultant has the goal to create, develop and promote the BIM Civil Land Development Group brand. The use of language within these BIM Civil presentations, therefore, shall be modeled by the use of language recommended for communication among land development engineers and others. It is a form of business English. It is also a form of contractual English. For purposes of discussion, let's try to develop what we may refer to as BIM Civil English. When using BIM Civil English, words like I, you, they, us, we are minimized. The word we may generally be assumed to mean the person or persons creating the content for the BIM Civil presentation. Otherwise, we may use the term your BIM Civil consultant to mean the person or persons creating these BIM Civil presentations. The observer would be correct to conclude that voice narration for these BIM Civil presentations is being done using artificial intelligence, or AI technology. The use of AI technology for BIM Civil voice presentations provides several benefits. First of all, the pace and rhythm, or cadence, of computer-generated speech tends to be faster and more precise. This is important when trying to maintain an audience whose attention span may be difficult to capture and hold. Time is precious, and we understand the importance of time management. On the other hand, it is also understood that a fast-talking AI robot using many technical words may also create an unfavorable atmosphere for some of our target audience. Your BIM Civil consultant will, therefore, endeavor to coach the AI robot to slow down at some points, or even to pause for effect. Most forms of language originate in our own community or household. Words become familiar to us based on the context with which they were used from our own upbringing in our own community. As adults who may specialize in a technical subject, a certain set of commonly used words and phrases become familiar as we interact with our peers and colleagues. Regarding BIM Civil English, it could be said that words mean whatever we want them to mean. For effect, let us repeat that last statement as what we regard as a powerful statement and perhaps the point of this presentation. Words mean whatever we want them to mean. For example, if we say, fire water, followed by a verbal or written definition such as, fire water, the water supply, activated when needed, to suppress or extinguish fire, then the two-word combination, fire water, would be assumed to have that meaning for all discussions moving forward. Otherwise, we may just use the term, fire water, and assume that the listener will either intuitively know, or we guess they will know. Fire water, however, is a bit of a niche word, so a definition may be appropriate in some cases. We would not say the word software, followed by an explanation or definition such as software, the electronic code that gives computers ability to perform tasks. By this example, we may understand that English, in the realm of information technology, is changing and evolving. Words assumed to have a common sense meaning today may have only acquired that common sense meaning within the past 30 to 40 years. Technically speaking, the business of land development engineering involves design software, mathematics, information technology, artificial intelligence, and so on. Let's not forget that land development engineering also involves concerns related to business, contracts, finance, public agencies, public welfare, legal issues, environmental issues, social concerns, and so on. We point this out to expand our train of thought to see land development as part of a much larger picture. BIM Civil English words and phrases may be utilized in the context of the listed concerns, based on the opinion of the presenter, your BIM Civil consultant. Certain phrases, analogy, metaphor, and so-called power statements shall be based on our best attempt to create informative, accurate, yet entertaining content. Let's proceed with an example of an interaction, which say you as a professional either will experience or have experienced. That is the situation where information is being presented to you, which contains unfamiliar or unknown words and phrases. You may have hesitated to inquire regarding the meaning of the unknown content, not wanting to be judged as inexperienced or less competent. As we progress in our careers and gain experience, there will be times when people will assume we have a certain skill set which may or may not be the case. The short answer is, the best approach for this case depends on the situation. Most of us in the world of land development engineering can relate to times, perhaps when we were students, taking a course and being totally lost during a lecture. Even if we are native speakers of English, and the lecture was being presented in English, the content was totally not understandable. As students, it was always appropriate to ask questions. We may have been afraid to ask because the instructor may have said, "Which part didn't you understand?" To which we might have had to say, "All of it," or, "I understood everything," until the point after you said, "Let's get started." The point being, there will be times when studying a technical field that we must, metaphorically, retreat and regroup. It is perhaps appropriate occasionally to not reveal our level of confusion, but not lose our confidence. Your BIM civil consultant believes that those experiences that occurred during our student years made us stronger in the sense that we learned not to panic, lose confidence, or recoil in the face of a lack of understanding of a particular presentation. To illustrate the point further, let's consider the language of mathematics. As engineers, we are supposed to be good at mathematics. But there are arguably different kinds of mathematics. A kind of pure math, such as those specializing in mathematics, may perform well, and a kind of utilitarian math which is more applicable to engineering, especially land development engineering, that is much more intuitive than so-called pure math. One of our tasks as engineers will be to evaluate and decide what level of mathematics is appropriate for a given task. It is likely the more utilitarian version which will be appropriate. We must be aware that even as engineers, we are likely to experience times when we feel mesmerized and overmatched by a certain mathematical presentation, and we should not panic or lose confidence because of it. We hope this presentation may provide some insight into how your BIM civil consultant shall endeavor to create and utilize a certain form of BIM civil English for use in our presentations.